6, the latest in our series. And for anyone who hasn't been here before, TechFire is a series of technology briefings that aims to give you the best opportunity possible to interact with the people and the expertise that can answer the burning questions in IT for you and your organization.
Tablets, it's only 3.5 years old, as I said, and yet there's more tablets shipping every year than there are PCs or notebooks now, which is just an incredible transition from nowhere, really. And I think the important thing is that the consumer expectations is also changing, and it's right from generation Y, the young people coming out of schools, right up to pensioners. So you have generation Y, I don't know if you know this, but actually in surveys they have actually said the internet is as important to them as food, water and air. The over 55s is the most growing user population on Facebook, and pensioners, my mother is 70 next year. She never knew how to use a video, she never knew how to use a DVD, she knows how to use a smartphone. And she's swapping apps with her friends, and she's chatting down the dog about this app and that app. It's blown my mind, the fact that she's embraced this technology where she actually didn't even embrace the video. So it's consumer driven, I think, is a key point. So what's different about digital? What's different about these technologies? It's actually that they're inherently human based. They're consumer based. People find them easy to use, they've embraced them. And it makes companies like Facebook, like Google, like Twitter, really powerful in the world that we live in today. So consumer-based is, I think, a key point. The other thing is social and the explosion of social. I mean, Twitter is going to be sold for God knows how much. It's only 8 years old. I mean, that is incredible. But it's not only people that are being social in today's world, it's actually everything is connected. We're going to be more and more connected. I mean, I think it was 2009, there were more things connected to the internet at that point than there were people. And we're going to see more and more of that. And if you talk to any of the software companies, they're really grappling with how do we work in this new world where all these technologies are going to be talking and speaking to each other. What can we provide the customer in this new world that we live in? I think other examples of this whole phenomenon of Internet of Things, cars. Most cars have software now in them, hundreds of lines of software. It won't be long when actually our cars are effectively robots driving us to work. We sit back and they come and collect us when we go home. I mean, the whole automobile industry is just going to be hugely transformed by technology. Other examples, sensors are very effective. So sensors in agriculture and in biology, you know, to find the best growing conditions to get the best yield from grain. Other examples, you know, utility or mining, it's really going to be robotics that are actually looking after those things that actually avoid the fatal disasters we've had, in example of BP in recent years. So fundamentally changing, and I think inherently human-based, as I said, but also it's actually impacting not just technology, which I think is what, you know, the start of the internet age, but also impacting on business. And that I think is what the real difference is, and it really is, and Paul said it, technology and business leaders need to come together in organisations to capitalise and take advantage of this new technology. The first one is you're very externally focused, and they're probably the retailers, the banks and so on, focusing their customer, engaging with that customer, building the relationship with the customer, probably driven by marketing and sales in quite a lot of the cases, and a big focus on driving online presence. With other organisations taking another path, probably more B2B organisations, which are actually saying, look, the customer is less important to be engaging from a front office perspective, but I really need to use digital to maximise my productivity, my efficiency, drive cost savings, and actually improve my business overall. And that's the internal focus and the bottom line. But actually there's a third path. I think this is kind of, I suppose, the Accenture point of view on this, is that really digital transformation needs to sit between these two and needs to look broader, needs to be looking at both at the same time. And so a lot of people now, the kind of really leading companies, are starting to look at digital transformation across the organisation, from the front office to the back office. And this is probably ultimately, is going to be where it will ultimately go. So if you've completely revolutionised your front office and your customers are coming and you're attracting, chances are you need to do something with your back office because it won't be able to cope with the increased capacity. Likewise, if you've driven all that you can, all the productivity out of your organisation, you're going to have to start looking for new ways to do things and look at the front office. So really, the point being is that digital transformation is going to cross the entire organisation. The silos are going to need to be broken down, and ultimately every business is going to be a digital business. But importantly, the strategy is going to be very important, your digital strategy and the business case and the return of investment. It came up that funding was a problem. We're only dabbling, I think, a lot of organisations in digital, and we're just doing stuff because we're responding to the hype. We need to really be thinking about, why am I doing it? What's the added value? And then, hopefully that will, with that C-level sponsorship that the survey told us about, unlock the funding to go and do some of this interesting stuff. Final thought. There's a really big opportunity for CIOs and IT leaders here, and there's lots of debate as who's going to emerge as the winner, the CIO, the CMO, the CDO. My own honest opinion is it's going to depend on the personality in an organisation and the passion that that person brings. So I'd love to think it's IT and technology that's driving this, because we've been living these technologies for many, many, many years, and we know the pitfalls. I think the CIO has a therefore responsibility to be the catalyst for change.
4G technologies are now in trial, and they are actually broadcasting in the city as we speak. And that doesn't sound like a big thing until you realise that the upload capability, when you can actually get things on millisecond response times and get things in large bandwidth up as well as down, all of a sudden you can not only get that data out to people, but you can also allow them to interact back wherever they are on a secure channel. And all of those things are now there. And I have actually said that in a future-looking way, I think that is really going to make a major change to the way that people can do business, because you're not only talking now about sales forces being enabled to do more on the field. You could be talking about analysts. You could be talking about business transformation people being able to do what they had done at their office desk now at the desk of their customer, on their smartphone, on their tablet, or in whatever way they can. And I think that will be a key difference.
The benefits in the language of your stakeholder.
So that's the next question, really. As you got better at being able to identify the opportunities, of greater visibility of the customer and your single view, as you were able to turn around these campaigns faster, what were the kind of results that you were seeing then?
Well, I suppose firstly we had gone from a position of not really being able to track 100% end to end what the results were. We knew outbound campaigning was the right thing to do, but what was it actually? What was the full-on end-to-end ROI? And where we moved to was being able to close that gap over a period of time. So it takes sort of 30, 60 days to let the customer actually do what you want them to do. So we're now able to analyze end-to-end not only what the customer response to the interaction was, but actually what did they actually go on and buy. So what was that actual ROI based on? So we went from a space of not being able to measure to actually not just being able to measure unit return, but actual customer return. So when I look at our C-level delegation or our executive committee, now they're not just armed with product sales and unit sales versus those targets. They're now aware of what kind of customer is making up those unit sales. So is our current account attracting younger customers or is it older customers? Until not long ago, they weren't too clear on that. They just knew they were selling X amount. Now we're able to see what kind of customer is coming into the bank as an acquisition customer and what opportunity do we have to cross-sell onto them. And what method of cross-sell onto them is proving effective. So it's a much more holistic view, taking your words, but a much more holistic view which is much more valuable to the business, all driven from the data.
Right. Well, that's a very important point that you're touching on there. We've been hearing for years how video conferencing and presence technologies are going to revolutionize business, and yes, there are more cars on the road than ever before, and I doubt you'll ever see an airport that isn't crowded on a Monday morning. So in your experience, what has it enabled you to do? And you mentioned using the technology there without major training programs. So the accessibility of the technology and the fact that people were able to use it readily, combined with the human element, did you find that once you built it, they came?
They did. I suppose I would have a view that if technology is truly useful, people would use it. Again, another cliche, but when I started in IT, which in the words is more years ago than I care to remember, there used to have to be extensive training of people around what they did. what you're seeing, because of the fact that so many people are involved, particularly in social media and all that sort of stuff now, is that there is an expectation of the workforce. So to that extent, you don't need to train for stuff that they're already doing at home. So they have an expectation that they will be able to communicate in this way, and it is up to us, I think, to enable that communication in such a way that they can get more productive in terms of doing it. So when we put Link out in the first place, we put it out and we didn't market it at all. And I've just given you the figures that we're using, which are big enough figures. There's still a long way to go, and still ways in which we can use it better. There's more sharing of documents we can do. But if you take for example, we've run a project recently around local property tax in developing our ability to deduct stuff at source. That project was staffed by people from our own department, people from Accenture, but people from our own department in a number of different centres. So we ran a weekly project meeting where I was able to go from my office in the centre of town to the development team that were working out in Kilmainham, to the business team that were working in Sligo, to dial-ins from Accenture in terms of what we're doing, and people from accounts in Dundalk. They didn't leave their building, but we had our weekly meeting, and it greatly facilitated that. I don't believe we could move the sorting pace we moved. We were under a great deal of pressure to deliver something very fast, and there's no way we would have been able to just do the governance without it, unless we were using this technology.
Okay, well that's quite a testament. But again, like all of this being such an aggressive timeline, you were able to produce results very quickly. So what was the reaction when you were able to put these insights in front of people?
Yeah, I think for us as a team, I guess we have one mantra that we take all the requests by is what is the business problem we're trying to solve. And I think in terms of this app, number one was tablets, and really trying to solve how are we performing in each and every geography. So as we looked at that, what we wanted to build was this, I guess, user-friendly method of displaying that information. The reaction was extremely positive, because in a really, really simple yet effective manner, anyone, whether it's our CFO or a user for an area, can look at that app and you can tell immediately how you're performing. The app has the ability to run things like a live tile, so again, without even launching the app, you can see like a stock ticker exactly how performance is going. So I think the reaction is it's giving timely, accurate information to people so that they can course correct. So if we're not selling tablets in Ireland, and hopefully we'll sell more, but if we're not,
that's why I didn't ask the question.
I had to get that plug in. But if we're not selling tablets in Ireland, it gives the people timely and accurate information to course correct. So whether that's marketing or whether that's incentive campaigns that we need to run. So based on that, I mean, the feedback has been positive, and now we're launching on a roadmap beyond tablets. So the roadmap for me, the team, and Accenture is to actually build a devices dashboard for Microsoft. Again, devices, whether it's smartphones, tablets, etc. That explosion, we want that one-stop shop, whether it's our CEO, CFO, or a user in an area. They can go in and they can see where our devices are selling globally.
Excellent.
Massively different. So we took a massive leap in 12 months, and if you look at what we're looking at for this year coming, it's a big part of what our clients are asking us to help them do. Right. So I think we're accelerating quite quickly actually in Ireland. That's great to see.
Traditionally, we would have seen that data as just very much transactional. Data protection laws prevent us from targeting against it. But what we can do at an aggregated level is use that kind of information to understand our customer better. Similarly with credit card transactions, there's a categorization of merchant code which allows us to understand our customers buying flights or groceries or furniture, whatever, without actually knowing the real detail behind it. Where we would have just used transactional data for the purpose of understanding, the clearing process, in a safe way that doesn't harm the customer, we're now able to understand a lot better how our customer wishes to transact with us. And therefore, in understanding that, we can then serve them better.
It's really blown me away genuinely that people from Accenture have gone into organisations, they've pulled all this data together from different data sources, and actually, within 3-4 weeks, actually know and really understand that business, because they've looked at the business from A to Z, where actually most businesses are siloed, and it's just the way we've all organically grown, and know their little piece. And it's just quite amazing to see in a very short space of time, when you look at that data in a very different way and you use these analytical tools, how much you didn't know about your business that you find out, and then you can unlock that insight and start to do things with it. So, you know, if it was me sitting in an organisation and I was kind of figuring out where to start, I would actually start with data, because if you have data and you're collecting data, if you bring that together, you will find stuff you didn't realise and you'll be able to leverage. And I think your examples in Permanent TXP, the bank, were very good in that. But there's just so much you can do when you actually start looking at that data.
Yeah, that's probably back maybe to the point I made earlier about bringing the data into one central source. Where that works for us, we pull in all of those data points. So now we can basically identify what we would call a fast-moving or a slow-moving device through various channels. So when you bring it all together, you build up the full end-to-end picture. It helps us to work with OEMs to build the devices that people want. What are the hot sellers, etc., etc. So starting with bringing that data together for me would be number one.
What are the technologies that we already have, and what is the influence on our effective total cost of ownership of IT with all these new things that we're actually doing?
That's a huge amount of data at a customer level that we've always had, but we never knew we had. We could never see it, let's say. Some of it, okay, sort of demographics, pretty obvious stuff, but some of it is a combination of a number of data items that then give us more intelligence around a customer. So for me, on a customer analytics journey, number one is to actually put that piece in place, because without it, you don't have your Bible, I suppose. Outside of that is those old chestnuts that we've mentioned, the skill set, the buy-in from the leadership team, and also the drive and the focus to obtain buy-in, to obtain advocacy from the people that you want to go and serve. So your idea of sending out some of your insights and not being afraid to develop as you go, and at the same time achieving buy-in from the people who are going to use it. All of a sudden you're developing value from within, or you're making it obvious to your recipients where the value is available. But first steps, get the data right. Everything leads from the data, without doubt.
Front office, you're going to have your back office systems are still going to exist, but just like every other disruptor, presumably these technologies will ultimately force some things to turn off. But I do think, when we first started the cloud hype, it was all about cloud. And we're actually now, if you listen to what's being said, and certainly the technology vision that we would have launched earlier in 2013, we'd be very much saying it's actually the new living with the old, and it's actually making sure that you can integrate these new cloud technologies with your old legacy platforms and living in this hybrid world for quite a time to come.